Thanks, Russ. I appreciate you coming and spending some time with us. I had a number of questions here. I'll try and be brief, but my strategy generally is if I ask enough questions now, maybe other folks won't have to get up and be uncomfortable asking. But I got two correspondences here from people who wanted to have this read at the meeting, and we always read those. I'm not endorsing the opinions in these letters, so we always read what is brought to us at the meetings on any side of the issue. First letter says, "My name is Lou Coletta, a resident of Lake Township, Huron County, Michigan. I apologize for my absence, but I hope this note will be presented tonight. Everything presented here tonight by the developers and their Huron County advocate has no doubt dazzled many of you, the promise of economic gains and job creation. But the things they didn't and won't tell you is the short span of the pie-in-the-sky dreams. There is inefficiency and cost involved in this sort of enterprise. Number one, inefficiency. Wind turbine output is dependent on wind. When there is wind, and even at full capacity, their output is less than 30%. Number two, costs involved. They cannot build or run without government subsidies, tax abatements, and now surcharges. The past has proven this time and time again. If you use the Detroit Edison Company as an example, they have added a $3 surcharge per month per meter, times 2.1 million plus customers. Do the math for renewable energy. They have wined, dined, and put on presentations using your nickel, and have already asked for utility increases, and these behemoths aren't even up yet. The developers have all shied away from any property protection clauses in wind ordinances. They will tell you that wind turbines will not cause home devaluation and any loss of value as a result of the economy. So I ask, why should there be a hesitancy to include this protection where turbines are involved in an ordinance for non-participants? The people who signed leases will get annual payments for their signing they chose to sign. Count the people who signed the leases versus those who did not. A few will be paid and the rest of us will pay. The sound levels or decibels the developers recommend are another story. Their sound level determination is a convenience that fits their needs. They ignore the health issues that have been repeated, disclosed, and verified by medical experts. Why are human health impact studies not a required part of the developers' pre-construction studies? And then there needs to be a complaint resolution process better than what Huron County has done. Huron County has left it to the developer to determine how to handle and resolve complaints. Is that an adequate way to protect your community? There's another fact that many of you may not know. There's a transmission project that will be needed to fill the need for excess energy output to be transferred because the existing grid cannot accommodate the added capacity. Quote, more money to satisfy the need for greed, $700 million. Michigan money, your money. You as ratepayers will pay for this. I'm reading as fast as I can. The developers will tell you they are doing it because it is a mandate of the state, but the state does not say it must be put in your area. Remember, these people are asking permission to put these turbines in your area, and you should decide if, where, and how you want them. Don't let the developer dictate to you or threaten you. This is your yard, and you should decide what you want in it. I ask that you do your homework and don't be swayed. It's your future at stake and the future of your children, not theirs. Thank you, Lou Coletta. One last one. Dear Riga Township Planning Commission, I understand that a meeting is being held in Riga Township on 16th December relating to wind turbine ordinances. I've been asked if I might provide you with a perspective of the situation as evolved in Huron County. I did not ask for this. I apologize for my delay in response. There are two aspects to this situation. I think it sounds like what Mr. Lundberg was saying. The first relates to the Huron County actions taken between 2005, when the wind farm at Ubley was first proposed, and 2010, when Huron County modified its ordinances in light of this experience. The second aspect relates to my own acoustic investigations based on the reported problems of residents adjacent to the wind farm. With regard to the former, in 2005, public meetings were held at which residents expressed concern with regard to potential noise problems arising from the proposed wind farm at Ubley. These concerns were subsequently dismissed by Huron County officials, and the wind farm went ahead as planned. In retrospect, given that legal proceedings are now taking place against John Deere and others, it has become clear that it was residents rather than the Huron County officials who were correct. I understand that this is the only wind farm that has been constructed to date in Huron County which comes under the Huron County ordinances. Elton was under local township ordinances. So Huron County certainly cannot boast a successful track record in this respect. In March 2010, the Huron County Wind Turbine Subcommittee signed off on modified ordinances. I attended the meeting at which this sign-off took place almost unanimously. Committee members acknowledged that they did not understand the technical nature of the ordinance relating to ambient noise constraints, but they were pressured to sign off because the wind turbine developers wanted a go-ahead. They did so despite the strong opposition of one committee member who called for more careful consideration before proceeding. Following this meeting, I decided to undertake my own measurements of the ambient noise conditions at our own house, 1 mile outside of Port Hope on the Kind Road, where the ambient noise conditions might be representative of the conditions at Ubley or elsewhere in Huron County. From these measurements, I determined that the new Huron County ordinance provide no protection whatsoever for any landowner owners, whether participating or not participating alike, I also examined reported data obtained by the acoustic consultants Epsilon, contracted by John Deere, for the actual ambient noise levels at Ubley. Based on Epsilon's own measurements, I was able to show that the Huron County permitted wind turbine levels, namely ambient plus 5 dBA, would exceed the nominal 45 dBA for non-participating residents in wind speeds of no more than 5 miles per hour, 50 dBA in wind speeds of 8, and an average wind speed of 14. The permitted levels would exceed 40 dBA. I apologize for the next paragraph, sir. I didn't write the letter. When I realized exactly how deficient the proposed Huron County wind turbine ordinance were, I met with 4 of the county commissioners to explain the nature of the problem. Subsequently, I requested I might present my conclusions to the Huron County Planning Commission, but my request was explicitly denied by Russ Lundberg. The Planning Commission then went ahead to adopt the new ordinances, followed a few days later by the Board of Commissioners. As a result, a set of ordinances have been put in place in Huron County which offers the wind developers carte blanche, and which have been signed off by people who openly admitted they did not understand them. These ordinances provide no effective protection for the community, so the only future recourse available to residents on the receiving end of excessive noise will be to undertake formal legal action without any support from Huron County. I would strongly advocate that no other community should adopt such ordinances as a template. With regard to further explicit deals of ordinance, I shall try to send you a follow-up email, but I wanted to send you a top-level perspective to ensure that you are aware of this basic information. Sincerely, Dr. Malcolm Swinbanks. I asked him for his credentials, and he's a highly accredited mathematician from Cambridge. He also summers in Huron County, and appears by his credentials to be quite an expert on low-frequency sound. Those are the 2 correspondences I received. Mr. Lundberg, your presence was a little controversial. I admit that I was in the middle of that. For the record, who's paying you tonight?
You know, I really don't think that's important.
We sure do.
Answer the question.
Who is paying my expenses?
Yeah.
I can tell you who's paying my expenses. It's the people who came, who asked me to come here.
Who?
Who?
John Deere.
Yeah. Oh, it's excellent.
And let me back up a little bit. You know, I've been in the Planning Commission public hearing process a long time. You know, I understand the process. In Huron County and many other communities in Huron County and many other communities throughout the state of Michigan, just because a developer pays for a meeting doesn't mean that it's bad. Now, if a developer asks for a special meeting in Huron County, I collect a fee from that individual. If someone is asking for a special meeting, the fee is greater for a special meeting than if they were attending a regular meeting and just making a comment. I have to pay my Planning Commission members a per diem, and I have to pay my Planning Commission members a mileage stipend. And so, yes, someone's paying my expenses to come here and go home, but I am not an employee of John Deere. I, until November 26th, was an employee with Huron County. And so I guess that means I'm unemployed at this position.
Very good.
So, in the projects that we have been involved with in the past, you know, the townships, if we request a special meeting, they say, well, that's not in our budget to have a meeting then, and we pay them a fee which is equivalent to the cost of hosting the meeting. And that's done in, you know, we've consulted with our legal counsel in Michigan, and they've said that that's commonly done in townships across the state. So that is the guidance. We sought Michigan legal advice, and we have done this before, and our understanding is that it's commonly done for projects throughout the state.
Thank you. My question is, I mean, it was reported in the Huron newspaper that your intention upon retirement is perhaps to take a position in the wind industry. So my question is, we've been pressured repeatedly by our board to make sure we're not bringing biased information into this discussion. I've been accused of being biased for having to bring a response to the presentations the developers have brought. Your presentation tonight was virtually identical with that of John Deere's and UB's. I don't believe anybody in the Planning Commission heard anything new. And so that's, my question is, are you here as a salesman